Joining us now to discuss the BTC price and more is Anthony Saccaro, founder at Providence Financial and Insurance Services. Hello there, Anthony. So this sell-off is 52% down from the peak, ranks as the sixth largest for Bitcoin, according to NYDIG. But analysts suggest it's been quite orderly in terms of a sell-off. What kind of data are you looking at for some sort of sense of direction for Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And I would be remiss if I didn't say happy birthday as well. So happy birthday.
Been great.
To get started right. But the reality is Bitcoin has been more orderly than it has been in the past. And ironically, Bitcoin in the past has been something that investors would go to as an alternative to stocks. Or if stocks started to go down, if inflation started to go up, that would be something that Bitcoin would be bought on. It was kind of contra stocks, contra inflation. If the dollar was weakening, Bitcoin would be bought. Now it seems to be more correlated with the major asset classes than it has been before. And I think there's a lot of good reasons for that. Number one, there's how many ETFs available now? I mean, I think there's 12.5 or so ETFs available. Obviously, with BITO being the largest one and the first one out of the gate. But what that does is that gives everyday average Americans the ability to get into Bitcoin, whereas they didn't necessarily have that ability or didn't take enough time and ambition to open up a wallet and an exchange account and so on to go buy it. Now it's readily available. So investors are going to certainly control the influence, the direction of Bitcoin through their emotions. So if they're risk off, as is what's happening with the stock market, then they're going to be risk off with Bitcoin as well. And that's a little bit different than we've seen before. Same thing with corporations. Corporations have invested in Bitcoin more than we've seen before. So if they're in a risk off scenario and they don't like what Jerome Powell talks about or the direction of inflation, and they think maybe it's time to shore up or focus a little more on conserving their portfolio, then Bitcoin at this point is going to be an asset class that they're going to sell as well. So it's opposite of what we've seen before. It seems to be more correlated with the market than we've ever seen before. I'm not sure that that's bad. It's just the way it is at this point.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Jerome Powell. So the Fed, they're having a meeting on Wednesday. It's widely expected to reveal the agency's stance on a rate hike in March of this year. The Fed previously stated it would tighten monetary policy with up to 4 rate hikes this year to keep inflation in check. What will you be watching out for?
Yeah, well, Jerome Powell pretty much told us that that's what they're going to do in his confirmation hearing that he had, I think it was 2 weeks ago or something along those lines. And the reality is we fully expect that that's what's going to happen. The market now officially yesterday and today entered correction territory. It didn't close at correction territory, but it hit that 10% level. There's been a lot of individuals, including myself, predicting that in 2022 there will be a 10 to maybe 15 or 20% correction. We've already hit that 10%. Could it go deeper? I think it could. I think it probably will go a little bit deeper. At the end of last year, Q4 of 2021, I was predicting more of maybe a 25%. I think that's going to be off the table, but we don't know for sure. Anyone that tells you they know what's going to happen with Bitcoin, with the market, is just lying. Mm-hmm. No one knows. It's educated guesses. The reality is that a lot of it is in the Federal Reserve's hands at this point. It's them that are going to control the direction of the market. And ironically, they're not supposed to have anything to do with the market, but that is what the market's going to be looking at. And if they become too hawkish, and I think they're riding that line, but if they become too hawkish, it could send the markets sailing downward more than even 20% or so. So they got to be really careful.
Where's the floor, do you think? Do you see a retest of the July lows of around 29,000 to 30,000, and is $100,000 per Bitcoin, is that a faraway dream?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's far away. Matter of fact, BlackRock, thank you. BlackRock, the largest institutional investor, said that they see a $100,000 target price on it in the next 5 years. And I don't think that's aggressive. I think that Bitcoin could hit $100,000 within the next 2 to 3 years. And there's a lot of people out there that agree with that. Of course, it could move on a lot higher than that as well. But we've seen some big moves. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think Bitcoin went from something like 8,000 to 18,000 in just a relatively short time. I think it went from 18,000 to 60,000 in just a period of a year or year and a half. And now that it's traced back, this is not the first time this has happened. There's been over a dozen times since 2015, 2016 that Bitcoin's pulled back by more than 50%. So the reality is that this is just normal. It's the way that Bitcoin works. It will double again in value. I think that could happen pretty quickly. And 100,000 is not out of range. I think for sure it's going to get there. It's just a matter of when.